and welcome back. So we are going to be talking about how we bring everything together. So we talked about how to create different types of components. We talked about like creating recipes for a design system. Let's take a look at what that looks like right now. So over here, we have our major like foundational base styles. We have our colors. We have things like typography, iconography. If we go into our components, we have stuff like avatars, checkboxes, different various inputs. And you may be asking me, well, Daniel, how do I bring this all together? Like, how do I use these things? So at this point, you've probably has started to, created some more high fidelity designs. You've settled on more of a specific style. So as you can tell, like things have come together a bit more. And there's much more, like style definition in the different types of components that we've created. So you can tell that we definitely have a direction to go in. Now, as I said before, design systems are always changing. We are constantly iterating on them, but they give us a great way to have like a bunch of components in one place that you can update and have it update through the rest of your application. So this is my current iteration of the design system for Habitual. And what I've created here are a bunch of recipes like I've showed you. And now I want to show you what it looks like when we actually start bringing it together. I have a bunch of different pages laid out. I have our onboarding pages, registration. And as you can tell, they all have that very similar style and there's a lot of visual cohesiveness. So let me show you how I went about and actually did that. So let's go to the wish list. I think that would be a great place to start. So as you can tell, like a lot of things have changed since the last time. How did I create this actual page? So as you can tell over here, I've created a frame called the header. Let's just bring that up so we can see. So I have everything that scrolls. I have our footer, which is our nav. And what I've done here is I've actually gone to my assets tab here. And I'm looking through here and I see my main navigation component and I want the wish list component. So I will just drag that into my frame like I've done here. And then I've set my component there. And if I change that in my design system, then it will automatically update in this markup over here. So I have one for a wish list. I have one for our cart or a shopping bag. I have for orders, and you see we have different variations. Now, if we take a look at what we have over here, this is our sweat container. You may actually remember this from when we created a recipe for product cards. So we have large product containers, and what I've done is I've actually just kind of taken this recipe that we've put together, and I've just copied it over there. Now, do I think we're going to use this forever? Probably not. Actually, I can guarantee that, things are going to change. Different types of details will change within these product cards, but this is our iteration right now. And this is what we think the user wants right now. So if I go back, I have a recipe over here, and I will continue to use this anywhere I see a large container that needs to be used. And that's what I mean about having so much reusability within your design system. You may also find that there's some components that you may have forgotten or some certain styles that you may have forgotten. It's very hard to build an application from the ground up so quickly without taking into account all the different use cases. Now, more specifically, I'm talking about like the heading over here. The last time I thought I was going to use, a more traditional, just like a capitalized text, but I've done an all caps header for the different types of content that follows below, and then I've done a gray link or underlined link that's all capitalized right beside it on the right side. Now, I didn't think about this before, but as I started to build out the fidelity of our application, I found out that, I need a little bit more variation with my typographic styles. So I'm going to either create a new style or I'm going to just kind of create a variation. So I have like the link here, which is this style, the interactions link style. And I've just kind of capitalized it on my own, and, I may go back into our typography section and actually create a capitalized version there. So that way it's just easily accessible since we're using it so much. You may also find that, wow, I use these two typographic elements together, And I use them a lot. So I may actually take them out here. I'm going to actually create a frame around them. And we'll call it content header. And this content header will be like another recipe that we use. You'll notice that whenever I move this frame, then that gets moved as well. This can have that on both sides, so we'll see what that looks like when we start to shrink it down. So now we have our own recipe for that section, and we can just kind of copy and paste that from our design system whenever we need it. So remember, a design system is kind of like that source of truth, and you're never going to get it right in the first try. You're going to continually iterate on it as you see your application grow and as new demands need to be met. Like if you, new learnings that you found out through user testing or just general like analytics, you'll find out that, maybe we should have like a big button on the bottom of these carts that says add to cart. And I'll show you that and how we can iterate later on. So this is what I've done for the wishlist page right now. I've also created like different variations. I'm thinking through these different use cases, more in depth right now. Like I've done the user flows for them, and I thought, okay, when you come to the wishlist page, there's a couple different scenarios here. We have like a logged out version where, you haven't logged in yet. So we have that CTA at the top, pushes them to like a sign up or a login screen. I also have like a card here that says you have no saved products. You can start saving to add to wish list or create one now. So if I don't have a login, this is probably going to prompt me to create one. So I have that. I've also incorporated different elements like illustrations. So let's take a look at that really quickly. So what I've done here is I've started to use these illustrations through a plugin. And I'll show you what that plugin is called. It's actually just called Illustrations. So let's launch that. It's running right now. Okay, so pretty funky plugin over here. And what I've done is I've just taken like one like this. Let's just throw that in there. Let's close that plugin. So I've taken this illustration that we've gotten from that plugin. Then a shift option, hold that so I can scale it appropriately. Okay. And what I've done is I've just used our brand colors. So I'll use like the primary to replace that, and to replace the black, I'll use like just a lighter gray. And just like a little use of an illustration like that makes this card much more better. Like if we remove that, it doesn't necessarily have the same effect that it did prior. So let's just move that up. So as you can tell, like it's really plain. That illustration adds a little more of a dynamic touch to it. It makes it a little more exciting. It gives your application a little bit more personality. So that is what I've done here. And like I said before, I've noticed that I've started to use cards like this to prompt users to do certain things. With like a primary CTA button, I have like secondary copy, and I also have the primary copy over here and an illustration. I'll create card, and I may actually create a component out of this now, because I found that I'm using a bunch of different illustrations. I'm using a bunch of different scenarios that it may be reusable. So that's another example of how you find more reusability as you start to design. I've also created like a title over here with a background. So this is our header. So all it has in there right now is the background color. It has the wish list copy, and the avatar can actually come in here as well. Okay, I can throw that in there, and then we can just say login CTA, and right now we have a nice header component as well. So that is another way to start to build out your design system a bit more, because we do have some top navigation options. Now let's take a look at some other options we have on wishlist. So over here, when you actually have an active list and you're logged in, you have your avatar, you see how things have changed a bit. You have like your wish list at the top. So right now I have like a personal wish list. I'm using this component in here as well, which is like your invite. I'm using horizontal component that possibly opens up like a list where you can share this. You can invite more people possibly, or actually just delete the list, and it'll probably open up an overlay within whatever operating system we're using, whether that's iOS or Android. As you can tell, I'm using our small wish list components that we've created, these horizontal card views. I've created another list over here, and I have another CTA, which I'm using the secondary button. Now, as you can tell, like, this seems like a pretty standard thing that we're going to probably be using a lot of. And this makes sense to probably create like either a component out of something like this, or just a recipe so that we can reuse that. And again, I'm repeating the same kind of thing over here, like a suggested for use section, possibly showing them results that are based off of their recommendations and based off of their wants within their wish list. So I have like some Bose headphones over here. You know, they coincide with maybe the music that this person's listening to, or, you know, just general technology. So that's just another option we have in wish list. And the last option I have here is what happens if the user comes here and they don't have a wish list, but they are logged in. So now what they'll need to do is create a wish list. They'll select this CTA over here, and it will prompt them to kind of name a wish list, invite some people, and then they can go ahead and start saving to it. So that is what we have here thus far for wish lists. There are so many other scenarios. Like, what happens if we don't have a wish list? What happens if we do have a wish list, but what happens when we first click this? Where will it go? Will it prompt me within a modal to say, I want to save to this specific wish list or that specific wish list? So as you can tell, as you start building out the application, you'll realize that, wow, there's so many different use cases that I haven't necessarily thought about. And that's totally fine, because that's just the nature of the job. And that's just the nature of actually designing from low fidelity to high fidelity. So this is how we've built out wish lists thus far, using some of the components that we've created, using the recipes that we've created, and actually finding some new components and new recipes along the way.